we technically couldn't have afforded a house if we hadn't made the duplex our first one.
Yeah.
Right? Because we couldn't afford the $1,900 payment. But when $900 to $1,000 came in every month, we could afford $1,000, right?
This is the Twin Cities Real Estate Investing Show. Real stories, real success in Twin Cities real estate. Join your hosts, Adam Tafel and Tim Swierczek, as they dive into the world of Twin Cities real estate investing. Together, they share valuable insights and practical tips to help both new and seasoned investors navigate the Minneapolis-St. Paul market. With a focus on relatable stories from real people, this show will empower you with the knowledge and confidence to thrive in your investing journey. Guys, take it from here.
What's up, Tim?
Hey, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Ryan Luthi just took off.
Yeah.
He's a good man. I like hanging out with Ryan.
One of my besties in the business. Yeah. We become friends, right? So we ski together. We vacation together.
Cool.
Skiing. And we went to a Viking Packer game, right? Like we did this thing one year where we went to Lambeau Field together. And
nice.
We made a deal where depending on who won, the other one had to wear the opposing team's jersey kind of deal. A little fun thing. So it's been a great friendship.
Yeah, Ryan's a Packer fan and has done a lot of different things in the investing space. And we were just talking on the way out. We really just kind of scratched the surface because he's done a lot more than what we talk about in this podcast. But talk about some house hacking and spending your money intelligently when you do your live and flip. Ryan's the man, and support the sponsors.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the Twin Cities Real Estate Investing Show, brought to you by Shook. Shook is the all-in-one platform to help you manage your rentals, built for real estate investors just like us. Shook offers lightning-fast ACH payments. I just got a few properties set up with Shook, and I'm getting paid way faster than my old service. They can also do custom things, like if you need to pay a manager a percentage, they can take care of that. The staff at Shook, Oliver, and the team are just so awesome to work with, and we want to thank Shook for sponsoring the podcast. At $5 per unit per month, it's totally worth checking out shookrentals.com to book a live demo. In the show notes, we're also offering a discount of 20%. Use the code TCREI20. Thank you. One of the hardest parts of investing is finding a solid property manager. I've worked with plenty over the years. Some are better than others. Earlier this year, I did a 10-unit deal where John and his team at RPM Viking handled the management for our mutual out-of-state client. They were professional, they were responsive, they delivered exactly as promised. Now they are my #1 management referral, and I'm proud to have them supporting the show. Learn more at rpmviking.com. Use the code TCREI300 for $300 off maintenance services when you sign up with RPM Viking as your property manager. Thanks for sponsoring the show. Investors, if a deal gets messy, call Network Title. They can handle the BRRRR, the 1031, mixed use, commercial, whatever it takes, so you can close on time. Working with Network Title is kind of like having another personal assistant. That's how on the ball these people are. Network Title, complex deals made simple. Link in the show notes.
36 or something like that.
Yeah, I didn't even tune in.
I never really know because the final score, you just don't, in basketball, it's so up and down. It changes so I don't really pay attention, but it was around 36. I think it was like 147 to 111 or something like that.
Yeah, just crushed them. Good.
Yeah.
We don't want to
and no Anthony Edwards.
Is he hurt?
Yeah, a knee.
Really?
Yeah.
Sprain. They're keeping that very interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're just purposely resting him a little extra before the playoffs. Probably my guess.
Yeah.
Also, to see how the rest of the team plays. I mean, Asumo or whatever. I can't say the new guy's name from the Bucks, or from the Bulls, but I mean, he played well. So yeah.
Yeah, that name is Nigerian and it has some sort of deep meaning, I'm
sure it does. That's why I don't even want to butcher
That's not
it.
right, but it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
His full name is pretty interesting.
Ryan, will you pull that mic a tiny bit closer to your face? Just a tiny bit closer.
Sure.
That's perfect. Thank you. So Ryan Luthi's on the show today.
Woo! Hey
What's
guys.
up, dude?
Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The first time I met Ryan, we were golfing together, a little scramble.
Yeah.
What was that? Oh, that was the Twin Suite golf tournament. And then we've kind of remained friendly. And I don't know if we've ever done a deal together or not, but one of these days.
We're going to do it eventually.
It'll happen.
Yeah,
I'm sure
I know we've tried.
Yeah. We've attempted.
Yeah.
Anyway, Ryan and I did a couple of deals together. One of those deals was this off-market place on Buchanan. And I'm not kidding when I say that is what started the meetup craze in the Twin Cities, was Ryan and I doing that deal together. Here's what happened. It was a gut job. It was
Should I pull it up? Or it was off market?
Yeah. Go for it.
2411?
It was off market, but there's pictures now, I'm sure.
2411?
2411 Buchanan Street, Northeast.
Actually,
and so it was a gut job house. It was in bad condition, and so there was a major remodel. I mean, we spent, I think, $120
at least
in those days dollars, right? So that's like $175 now, right? I mean, like something along that lines, that order of magnitude. But what we did is I said, hey, Ryan, I invited this guy from Bigger Pockets. Gosh, I can't remember his name, but a Bigger Pockets guy from a long time ago to just go see the property. I'm like, hey, I want to walk this guy through it. Do you mind? And Ryan agreed to let me or whatever. And he had to be along with it. And I was like, there's a lot of interest here. I'm like, I bet if we invite more people, we could actually get some business off it. And this is kind of where Ryan and I, like working together as loan officer and realtor, kind of came around. I'm like, we should try this. And so we tried it. It was amazingly successful. A lot of people loved it. And we did a happy hour afterwards.
Yeah.
And then I basically said the same thing to Jordan Marhead. I said, Jordan, there's something going on here. We need to start doing this. And so Ryan and I started doing it, and Jordan and I started doing it. And next thing you know, people started copying us. There were 2 meetups, as far as I know, that existed, but they didn't do any events, and they didn't pull people really. Or they were so infrequent that it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, all the other realtors and loan officers in town started seeing our success and started copying it. And then it went from, the 2 inactive ones started getting more active. We're doing it, and then a bunch of others exploded. And there's next thing you know, there's like a dozen in the Twin Cities doing it. But it would all happen from this house right here.
Yeah. Well, I think people really liked the fact that you could stand in it, right? Like you could see the property. I think that was the biggest learning for me was, events are great. They were fun to do. The conversations were great. But, like standing in this and looking at the old pictures and then seeing what Tim did, how he did it, and really digging into that, whether or not you're looking at doing a huge remodel, I think was just, made it fun.
Yeah.
Obviously.
So we're probably about to see post remodel.
Yeah, this is all post remodel.
Yep.
And this is like, so this is a wonky floor house, like people sometimes they walk in and they think everything's perfect. These floors are uneven. That's why you have carpet. There was no putting in, it would not have worked to do LVP even, just not level enough. So we went with carpet. But look, this place rented for a lot of money. I mean, back in 2017, we were getting over $2,000 for the upper unit. And I think we were getting $1,875 for the lower unit, 3-bedroom. Small 3 bedrooms, they're not big bedrooms.
You still own it, Tim?
No, I sold it in 2019.
Oh, that's this listing right here.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Ryan sold it in 2019.
Yeah.
And that's actually a whole interesting thing. For a short period of time in 2019, Ryan sold properties on auction. Mm-hmm. And
tell us about that. What's up with that?
So market was super hot, right? There was a huge imbalance of buyers and sellers, right? There was very low inventory. Interest rates were rock bottom. And so, you have this kind of disproportionate market. So it was just, there's going to be a ton of demand. Especially if you have, a nice improved asset and it looks great and shows well and all that stuff. But the obvious problem when you're selling a rental property is you have tenants in it. Right. And so you have all this 24-hour notice, 2 tenants. And then this was a particularly challenging example because you had young people renting I think it was 4 bedrooms up and 3 down,
that's
something
correct.
like that.
Yep,
so
that's correct. Yeah.
There was 7 people living there. So it wasn't just like 2 families or 2 couples or, where it was a little more cohesive in terms of, getting people in to view it. And so the idea of having 20, 30 showings and these tenants, being notified of ding, 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 whatever, So I talked to a mentor of mine at the time, and he was like, "Hey, we're doing this auction thing," and his market was Arizona, and basically, you kind of price it under where you think it's going to be actually land, price it super aggressively, and then you do like a gangbusters all day or few hour long kind of open house. And what that allowed me to do was get all the tenants out and allow the showings to happen. And this was actually, I think, the first one that we did.
The very first one, yeah.
So I just gotten like the website up for the auction, platform and all that. And then
So you're using a specific platform for auctioning homes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So my mentor had a license, and so it was this kind of cool little, like, sort of a pseudo partnership where he kind of had what I needed to be able to do that. And so I got there to arrive, and I was probably an hour early, at least a half an hour. And there were already 5 to 10 people in the lawn.
Cars lined up, right? Yeah.
Cars lining up. Like, it was like, oh boy, like, this is going to be crazy.
As a seller, you're not really allowed to be around. They don't want you around the property, right?
Yeah.
But I was really curious how this was going. So Ryan was sending me little updates. He's like, Tim, you wouldn't believe it. And
$279 you listed for.
Yeah.
do you recall how many people went through this one? Because it was an insane number. It was an impossible number.
It was like 104.
Okay. I knew it was over 100.
Yeah.
It was over 100.
And then
then Melbourne was even bigger.
Melbourne was, I think, 120, 140. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that was even wilder. Well, that was
So
the next one, right?
We had a money shot. So I'm going to explain to people here. This bathroom, I put that hood in so that the place would rent for more. It didn't need this hood, right? But this was so that it looked like a more gourmet style kitchen. I mean, it was a nice kitchen, don't get me wrong. But putting a cabinet there isn't as impressive when you have your pictures for your rental and stuff as having, like those tiny row of cabinets across the top, as you can see. There were, so putting in the hood really gave us a real high-end, cool look to this place.
For I've been doing a lot of single-family renovations the last year. I don't put a microwave in the home. They can buy their own microwave if they want one. I do a hood with a whole tile wall for that exact reason. It's like, they'll find out there's not a microwave. It's fine. Buy a little microwave. But, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Little things like that, you'd be surprised.
And this place really did look nice in person. I mean, the countertops really looked great.
Yeah.
It was new. For this area of town, this is a very nice place.
Yeah.
And would you say, too, like, it wasn't as common. Now there are kind of a lot of high-end duplex units. It didn't used to be as common.
Well, that's what I
right?
was going to say. This was like way above normal, improved value. Like these are granite countertops. You have the chef's hood. You have these layers, the in-unit stacked laundry, right? Tim went all in. It was like, what is everything that anyone could ever want? And that was another thing that we were kind of educating our, kind of our landlord, maybe you call it 201, because 101 is the basics, right? This is like, okay, if you're going to renovate a unit, you want to do these things. And so dishwasher, central air, Tim wouldn't buy anything without
going through my list.
Forced air, right? And so, but it was interesting because I was learning along the way, right? I mean, I was buying rental properties and stuff, and along the way, I've learned a ton from Tim, and that's what was kind of cool too. But a lot of this stuff was a risk, and he was just willing to take these big risks, spend way more money than anyone else that I was, working with or talked to about this, and it worked. I mean, no one was. I think you were actually getting like $2,250 on this.
I believe we got $2,250 and $1,875. That's what I recall.
Yeah,
and that was $200 more per month than the typical, and it was at least $100 more than just about anyone else, right? Like that set the market by about $100 a month in both cases, I think. Maybe. Anyway,
I was just gonna say your quality was higher too. You were getting really good tenants because they wanted all these things, right? They were basically like condo renters that were renting a duplex. Yeah. And so then I just remember you had a lot less
September
issues.
1st lease,
yeah,
right? Because so this is close to you. This is in a trendy-ish area, although it's like slightly away. I mean, it's not in the heart of Northeast where people want to be around the bars. A little bit away from that, but still a great area. And so everyone who rented this place was a recent college graduate or still at the end of college. And so again, this for the University of Minnesota, September 1st was important because trying to fill a 4-bedroom unit when there aren't people on that college schedule, they just don't do it, right? Like once you're on the college schedule for a little while, you're willing to have roommates. And then after a while, you kind of spread off and you like get your significant other and then you want a 2-bedroom. Well, they were still at the age and point in their life where they wanted 4 bedrooms, but you have to line up with their lease schedule. And that's something I had figured out pretty early on.
And you had a formula. And for them, they were like, I don't care if my bedroom is tiny, which you know, again, I think you either did a ton of research, or my guess is you took
it was a lot of
rolled the dice a little bit.
I was
right?
a landlord for a long time before I bought these properties. Right, I started becoming a landlord in 2003, December 2003. I think we closed on Christmas Eve, December 23. It was either that or the 23rd. Yeah, I think it's Christmas Eve, my birthday, I believe. Anyway, so we closed on that house, and over the years,
on Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Cool. What I figured out for this tenant profile, right? Like everyone has an avatar. They wanted a queen bed. No matter what, they had to have a queen bed in their room, but they didn't have to be able to walk in the room, basically, right? I mean, like if they could like open the door and jump onto the bed, that's fine. And they needed they highly desired a big closet, right? Those were the two things for a bedroom. And if you could hit those two, you were fine, right? Didn't matter if the floors were wavy. They liked nice too. I mean, with my people, they liked nice. But again, everything else you can think of, like people always talking like, oh, I want a second bathroom. None of my people cared about a second bathroom.
But it was rough, as Tim said. I mean, it needed a lot, and you know, especially
the lower unit. The bathroom, the power didn't work, and it was like gross to the point where I wouldn't want to pee in that bathroom. I mean, I don't want to even say it. I'd rather go outside and pee than pee in that bathroom.
Yeah, it was interesting.
It was gross.
The main level previous tenant who had just moved out had run a home barbershop. So there was like tons of human hair. Like the carpet was
in the carpet,
like literally furry. Like it was definitely one that you weren't taking your shoes off in. And I walked it and with the guy and with the owner at the time, and it was like, I was like, I wonder what happened in here, and he was explaining it. So that was pretty funny.
It's odd that there's no sales history for your purchase, but. Whatever, so they miss things.
Well,
sometimes.
It wasn't done on MLS. That's probably why, right?
No, but it's still. This is from public records.
Okay.
Yeah. But whatever.
So a few other things. So the guy who ended up buying it actually still owns it to this day, I believe, and I'm pretty sure that his realtor was Alyssa Strom.
Let's
see.
I think so.
Yeah.
Actually,
if not, he's used Alyssa multiple times.
Yeah. No, old Albert. Albert P.
Oh yeah. I remember Albert. He was not a good realtor for this transaction.
Shout out Albert.
He just didn't know how to he didn't even know how to counsel his borrower. So here's the irony in this one. I did end up doing the loan for the guy.
Oh, really?
Because he didn't know what he was doing. So like he was a big shot who made a lot of money in New York. Was from Minnesota, but like moved to New York to do and he didn't really know anything about investing, and he didn't know that he couldn't buy this house the way he wanted to. Like he was bringing partners, and he thought he was going to get some conventional loan. And as soon as I figured out what he was doing, I'm like, I am not accepting your offer if you go with this plan. There is zero chance you can't qualify with this loan. I already knew that, right? Mm-hmm. So I basically had to tell him he had to get kicked in the balls by a lender and then come back to me and say, yeah, I told you so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I guess I have to pay $9 to upgrade this service. But whatever. Let me just do that real quick.
Yeah.
Hey, while I'm doing that, okay, so this podcast is about you, Ryan.
Yes. Sorry. Well, okay. But so this is the Northeast market, though. I at least like that people can hear about, like, you know, I think there's some cool stuff we talked about. Yeah. But it is about Ryan.
All right, we each got to chip in $3 after this show.
I think I left my wallet at home.
Yeah.
But so where did you come from, dude? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin outside of Milwaukee.
What's it called?
Hartford.
Cool.
So there's a few around there that all kind of sound the same: Hartford, Eustisford, and Heartland. So even if you think you know Hartford, you might know just one of my neighboring towns. But I grew up town of 9,000, and my dad was always doing projects. He had built homes through high school and college, I believe, kind of as a side job, whatever, college job. And my grandpa was the shop tech ed teacher at the school, and he created like a home building program and all this stuff in later years. But when I was growing up, my dad decided to buy. He had a bunch of rentals and stuff, but he started with a duplex. We rented it in 1984, so I was born in 85, and we moved in. I think they were there before that, and so that's like the first place that I lived on this earth. And then they ended up buying the property and just moving upstairs. So I'm just, like a product of the first house hack ever 40 years ago, So he had told me this story later in life, of course, and I was like, that's a great way to get started. And then I learned enough about these low interest loans low down payment loans, right? FHA. At the time, it was just FHA. So when I got started, first duplex we bought was 2013. And so, FHA was the one and only option that you could buy.
And when we sold this property, that was also true. People don't really realize this, but you weren't getting conventional loans.
Yeah.
Freddie Mac had introduced a 5% down program, but it was income limited.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I sold this property is the property values were going up so fast that these loans were becoming I thought we were gonna the pace of appreciation was outpacing the loan amounts you could do, right? Mm-hmm. Meaning that you're capped on income to use that 5% down program, and someone couldn't buy that house with that program because they made too much money to get the program. But if they didn't make that much money, they didn't qualify for a loan. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So there was this weird.
It was a
thing
tight
going
window,
on, and I started to get scared as a loan officer, going, "Holy shit, this can't continue! I'm going to sell at a peak because." These it was going up so fast. But anyway.
Well, I think Buchanan, if I recall, was actually it landed where it did in part because the loan limit on FHA was 398 or something, for right around 400. So I think it might have gone higher, but the to fit the person in the box to buy that house, it was kind of like we maxed out what was potentially possible for most people, unless you're going to investor side, which could have happened too. But anyway, so. Yeah, so my dad bought a bunch of lots at one point in a neighboring town called West Bend, and I think it was 10 of them. And my grandpa built some of them, and I helped my dad build houses as my first real job. And then I helped my grandpa and my dad build my parents' kind of forever home overlooking Druid Lake. It was awesome. Super special house. The whole thing was hydronic in-floor heat. It had central air too, but all the floors in the entire house were your toes could be sweating in the middle of winter. It was a wild feeling. And because we did almost the entire bulk of the labor ourselves, he was able to make cool decisions on fun stuff, and so that was just really neat to be a part of that. And also just 3 generations of my family building a house was pretty cool.
No kidding.
And the spot was sweet. We had a conservatory, 60 acres, but we had 6 acres of our own. And so you 4-wheeler around, and just, it was a fun way to grow up.
And you're on a lake?
We were overlooking the lake. So the part of the lake by our house wasn't that great. It was kind of shallow and stuff. So we'd head over there and ice skate and stuff in the winter, but we didn't actually have technical lake frontage.
Sure.
Which in some respects probably saved my parents a boatload of taxes.
Yeah, because Wisconsin lake frontage is expensive. Right? That's where they get their money.
Yeah, and if we had a dock, it would have had to have been 200 feet. It would have been silly. So,
sure.
Yeah. We had a boat on a different lake that was bigger growing up too, so that was fun. So did a lot of boating, and I love water. So yeah, but yeah, so that was kind of where I loved houses and architecture and stuff like that, or just curious about all things real estate. And it seemed like my parents had done pretty well, and I saw some things that I wanted to duplicate, and maybe some other things I didn't. There was a few rentals and tougher neighborhoods and stuff that we went and fixed them up after they got kind of beat up, and that was interesting. Kind of having that experience. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But some of that is, it's all about, the kind of the strategy, right? And Tim made these units improved enough to get higher quality tenants that had, or I shouldn't say higher quality, but just higher income, right? And so ability to pay and the way they take care of a unit and stuff was like, oh, okay, that's good to know. So then I graduated in 08. I met my wife in Eau Claire, UW Eau Claire, and we moved in 08 to the cities, and then rented for a bit in St. Paul, and then moved to Northeast. And then in 2013, we bought our first duplex. We house hacked that.
Should we? You want to take people through the deal, or should we skip
Yeah,
this one?
sure. Yeah, 429 Newton Avenue North. So bought this. But
Take people through a map first. So this is North Minneapolis.
Yep.
South of 55.
Just outside of downtown, right?
Yep.
I mean, this is like,
Yep.
this is pretty dang close to the Twin Stadium, actually, right?
Yeah, super close. Yeah, you literally head down 55 and you're there in like,
This
Like
is
3 minutes or,
yeah.
It's a higher crime neighborhood today. Back in the day, how was it in 2013?
It was, we never had any issues.
Sure.
Never had any break-ins. Still own it today.
No kidding.
Yeah, and really have not had issues with that. It was a little bit different. A really high percentage of renters in the neighborhood, and just kind of a different feel, I think, with like debris in yards and things like that. But we never felt unsafe or anything like that. But yeah, eventually we ended up getting pregnant and wanting more space. Our daughter was running around on the floors, and we had a tenant downstairs, and I was like, this is this is gonna get pretty old, like because the hardwood floors were pretty loud. So, but yeah, we loved it. We biked all over. There was there's the Udapills Brewery right there, which is like right down the street. You could walk there, and so yeah, I don't
love
have
the porches off the back.
You might be able to find current pictures on Zillow. I did a all new siding, new roof, painted the porches and stuff, freshened up the outside, and we did a privacy fenced in backyard on the right hand side there. So it didn't have a big yard because it's on a corner lot, and so to make it a little homier, I installed a cedar privacy fence, which basically made a small yard feel big, because it's weird to sit 5 feet from the sidewalk when like people are walking by and you feel like you could high five a random stranger. But when you put your fence as close to the sidewalk as you can, which they allowed, and in Minneapolis, they're pretty chill with that kind of stuff. It actually made this tiny little side backyard, whatever you want to call it, feel much bigger, because you could sit 3 feet from the sidewalk, but you wouldn't feel like you were,
Oh, we got somebody crossing the street.
Somebody's crossing the street. Yeah, if you go.
Hello, ma'am. Don't mind us.
Crossing the
she's
church. Yeah, so if you go down Fifth, there you go. Yeah, so you can see the privacy fence there now. So that was pretty neat. And then you had the upper deck.
There's your car.
Yeah,
That's your Jetta.
that's my old Jetta. Holy moly! And a scooter. So
That's your scooter right there?
no, that must have been the tenants. I forgot about that. But yeah.
Wow, so Google is slacking on there. They need to cruise around
pretty-
Harrison, man.
Yeah,
Come on, get updated.
Well, we just did the siding a year and a half ago. So,
But if your Jetta is in the driveway, then this photo is from at least 10 years ago, right?
it's pretty old. Yeah.
Anyways.
I haven't had the Jetta for a while. Yeah. Yeah. So, but this was another cool example. I got to take advantage of a hailstorm. So I got entirely new, beautiful, like charcoal colored siding, vinyl siding, and a brand new roof, which was, I think it was $70,000 for the whole thing.
Let's look at the current pictures, the listing pictures.
See if it should be on Zillow from a rental, if it's still up.
But don't they take the pictures down?
Zillow does.
Yeah. They do, don't they?
But they don't all. And if you
might
have
be
an
able
old
to find
rental,
something
right
else.
here, this will be it. Yes.
There you go. Yep.
Oh yeah, she's handsome now.
So little yard cleanup and stuff. Did some updating, inside, a little bit of new flooring here and there. But overall, a lot of the improvements were there, and that's part of the reason we bought it. So when I joke with a lot of my new investor clients that are trying to get in the game that this was $200-ish grand, and it was 3.5% down. I was like, I think we probably grabbed a few quarters from the couch to go to the closing on this one. I was like, I don't know that that's exaggerating. So I wanted something that was more improved and done, because we had zero cash. But
well, then let's go here. We're talking in the past tense. So this is what it looked like when you bought it.
Yeah.
Like a whole lot different.
Pretty
Homey
similar.
looking and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I spent some time in the bathrooms, but no, a lot of it is the same. Upstairs, we did some new counters, new granite. What else?
Obviously, new appliances.
Yeah, appliances have been slowly upgraded, but no, I mean, honestly, I haven't really done a ton. I've even left the cool colors. I thought they were kind of fun. I made a deal with tenants. I was like, here's the deal. Everybody puts their pictures in the same spot. So if you don't make 100 holes in the wall or like a squirrel size hole, I'm like, you just don't worry about the painting the walls if you can just be nice to them. And
people
so
have been?
I rocked that for about 10 years before we needed to paint, which was nice because like I don't want to take your security deposit. It was going to cost way more than the security deposit to paint the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I was going to end up losing money even if I kept all of it. Right.
Right.
What's $1,000 or upstairs is closer to $2,000 for rent. But it was 3 levels, so it had like an owner bedroom connected ensuite upstairs in the 3rd level, which was great. And then when we had our daughter, she was in the second part on the other side there. So. Yeah, beautiful hardwood floors. It was great.
So how long did you live in this property?
About 2.5 years.
Okay.
Something like that. About 2 years-ish.
You turned it into a long-term rental after you left, right?
Yeah. The coolest thing was we were paying like $1,100 in rent. And part of the reason we did it was like, okay, at the time with interest rates and whatever, I did the math and I'm like, well, wait a minute. If my payment's going to be $1,800, but I'm going to get $1,200 from the downstairs, I'm going to go from paying $1,100 a month to paying $600 a month net if my tenant pays, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, we're going to stretch on the down, but as long as we don't have to fix anything immediately, we're actually going to save $500 a month. And that was what happened. And then when we moved out, we had, I think anywhere between, I think it was close to $1,000 in cash flow.
Yeah, because rents were increasing at this point.
They were definitely increasing and people appreciated some of the improvements. This one isn't, nearly as nice as what you had in 2019, but
this was still a nice one for the area.
Pretty nice one for the area. A lot of space. Had a huge basement with tons of storage. So yeah. Yeah.
And so you move out, you're making about $1,000 a month. You moved into a single family, right?
Right. Well, and that math was the same thing too. So we couldn't really we had to buy the next one with my wife's income only, but what made it work too was that we were pulling, half of our payment on our new house was covered by the duplex. So, each time we were kind of getting that cash flow was helping us afford really what we technically couldn't have afforded a house if we hadn't made the duplex our first one.
Yeah.
Right? Because we couldn't afford the $1,900 payment, but when $900 to $1,000 came in every month, we could afford $1,000, right? So that was kind of interesting. So we made a move a little faster because we got pregnant. We didn't plan on quite getting we wanted to have a family, but we didn't quite plan it as soon as we did. So then it was like, as I jokingly mentioned, but very real, like hardwood floors on the 2nd level, and my daughter started to walk. And if you have kids, once they walk, they run. It's like, yeah. It's
and they walk with hard feet, right?
They
like
do.
Adults can kind of walk kind of soft, if you will.
Yeah.
Kids is just pump, 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 pump,
Yeah.
pump.
Yeah. I don't know how like a 20-pound child can sound like an elephant, but that's pretty much it. So we kind of were like, what are we going to do here? Tenants are going to inevitably just be ready to kill us, So we decided to do that move, and so bought a property. This is kind of an interesting one if you want to pull it up.
Yeah, single family.
3916 4th Avenue South.
You still own this one?
No, this one we sold, but this one, so we bought.
You say 49, Ryan?
3916 4th. So this is an interesting one too, of like how it definitely needed some love and some paint and some other things. But if you click on the pictures, this is a perfect example of why if you hire a great real estate agent that takes great pictures, like when you see the after of this, it's pretty different.
Yeah, so these pictures, for people who are listening to audio, they look almost like they have smoke in front of the lens. It's blurry in a way that doesn't look It doesn't look blurry. It looks cloudy. Like they like someone infused smoke into the house and then started taking pictures, or like steam or something, and then started taking pictures.
Yeah.
2001 build. Did you already mention that?
No. So this was wild. Like, this is, talk about a unicorn, right? So we're looking at houses, and I've got my license at this point, and so also interesting experience being the agent for your wife. Like, I was like, oh, and like then you skip things, and like it just was interesting. I was like, okay,
like you don't tell her things that you would tell your clients. Is that what you mean?
Like the assumptive things, right? Yeah, it's just like. I didn't bring her into the office and sit her down and explain the process, and this is how long it takes, and first we make an offer and then we have an inspection, and to like, because understanding where you're going to go before you go there, I think, is part of the thing that makes people feel more calm.
Totally.
Especially if you've never done anything, right? Whether you're taking a trip across the country to go to the Grand Canyon or buying a house. So that was funny, interesting learning there. But yeah, it had tired carpets, it had some stuff, but all of it was cosmetic. It was built pretty cheap, 2001, but it was 4-bedroom, 4-bath, and a true 2-story, which like you don't see any of these. Like they're definitely not in this
neighborhood. Not that neighborhood.
No, like nothing else, right? This is 80 years newer than the average, right? So that was pretty wild. So it had central air and all the things that we were already kind of spoiled with, because the duplex actually had central air in both units. But it had bigger bathrooms, as you can see. Some interesting kind of late 90s, early 2000s choices that weren't our favorite. And so then slowly but surely we kind of just, picked away at it. And we ended up basically doing what now I look back as like a live-in flip. Some good learning there. Not intentionally with the goal of kind of doing probably as much as we ended up doing. But this is a great example of like how big of an impact, number one, paint can make. Paint alone, paint and lighting,
and flooring.
And paint and lighting and flooring. And so what you're going to see is a ridiculous transformation, in my opinion.
So from 2015 when you bought it, and now we're selling it in 2021.
Yeah.
Were there some rental years in there, or did you live in it this whole time?
Lived in it the whole time.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what you did. And you said as long as you have a good agent that takes pictures, it's like as long as you just have an agent who makes 2% effort and does the bare minimum and takes pictures.
Yeah.
Look at that. That is a great thumbnail, my man.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. He's got the classic, he's got the red mulch.
I know.
I did the red mulch for years.
I think Nestor, no, not Nestor, Julio.
Yeah.
Julio's crew did the landscaping here. They did great.
The guys, if you don't get the joke, it's because everyone it makes the grass look greener. It just makes things pop a little bit more.
Yeah.
I did red mulch for years at all of our properties.
We don't see it very often anymore.
Kind of backed away from it.
The grass wasn't actually that green. I'll admit that.
Okay, you did enhance it? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I don't think it was ever that great.
Yeah.
It was okay. That front yard actually was pretty good. The backyard, when we bought it, we didn't realize that we bought it in the middle of winter. So when the snow melted, we were like, whoa. Yeah. There was no grass.
Look at how much more bright.
That's the living
modern
room. You put those two side by side, and it's wild. So we did a new light. This is staging, by the way. This is also the power of staging, which I'm doing in-house now because I'm like, it's so powerful. Mm-hmm. The flooring made a huge impact. We painted every single piece of honey oak white.
Artwork.
Yeah. Huge artwork makes rooms feel bigger, which I never would have known. Like, you look at that picture, it's floor to ceiling. There's only 4 inches.
A couple inches,
which you'd think, oh, that's going to make the room feel smaller. Somehow, it does the opposite. Staging magic. So that's part of it. That's a $200 IKEA butcher block island, which we bought. And
just for that purpose?
Because we needed counter space.
Oh, got it.
But it was this nice accent piece. I had a guy that started a painting business who needed referrals. And so he did this kitchen, did a wonderful job for absolutely rock bottom. But I referred him countless other jobs. And then obviously his prices went up and whatever. Yeah. But I was taking a gamble on it, on him and his crew, because I'd never had him do any work. Before I referred people, I always like to use them myself to make sure.
Yeah.
But they did a great job. And then we had the granite counters put in. That was at the time when the black was still in, but like just after this, like the white marble looking became popular, so that was interesting. The trends changing so fast. Changed the light out in that dining room there. Some small things that were really low on the investment side, but made a huge impact. The new washer and dryer, and then I went with the kind of the dark blue on these. So that's actually the original vanities, because they were wood, they were solid wood, they were fine, and they had good storage. The drawers worked great. In fact, this one I left the countertop, I believe. I think this is the original. So all I did was put a new faucet on.
Never mind. I thought
trying to go back to the old one.
Yeah, forget it.
Yeah, so these were, and I didn't do the light fixture in this one. Did cut some corners there, but then upstairs did the same thing, and yeah. So this is the owner bedroom.
The staging really does make a huge difference.
Yeah,
that's
the only piece. That's the only furniture we actually own in the whole house. That's my daughter's room. Yeah. So, but that was quartz with the new mirror and then the cool brushed gold faucet, which I think really, really set it off. Which was really, really fresh at the time. I was just starting to become popular, and I was looking at it, and I was like, the dark blue with that brushed brass I thought looked really cool. And then we hired one of my friends, or I should say client, that she did interior design work and stuff. And so we just did like a consult. And so I had her help me pick some things out.
Like colors and such?
Yeah. And then she ended up helping too with choices on our new house, which was a new build, which was way more decisions and way more overwhelming than I ever would have thought, which was crazy. But she was super helpful too. So the downstairs here also, we had to tear out the movie theater, which when I bought the house, I was like, this is awesome. I'm going to use this every day. And I think we did watch a lot of movies. But then in a social setting, it turns out if Tim turns his chair right now and faces that way, it's not super social, right? Like he'd have to turn his head or. So it had one purpose, and that was to watch movies.
Oh, it had like stadium seating.
Yeah, it had a raised thing, and it had actual movie theater chairs, which I was like, this is so cool. And it had a 100-inch projection screen with a projector mounted in the ceiling.
Yeah.
So I hooked it up to all
I could see how that'd be like, you'd be like, oh, I can't believe
it was amazing. This. Yeah, and I had all the sound equipment, so I hooked up like a really great stereo, and we watched some movies, and like feeling like you're in the theater.
Yeah.
But this created a different atmosphere when we took out the raised thing. It actually made it feel bigger too, because whenever you do that raised floor and you make the ceilings feel like they come down,
sure,
everything feels cramped, right? And so this opened it up a lot. They had to destroy that huge piece of wood, and I mean that was a whole undertaking. And then all new carpet. And all these walls in every single bedroom were like bright blue, bright purple, green. They were wild. So we kind of ended that chaos over time.
So what do you think you put into this house in renovating?
The numbers are going to sound hilarious. So
this was a different time.
This was a different time. And again, I was giving people a chance in some cases to use me. I love that deck. Use me. That deck, I had handyman Wayne.
Oh, that was Wayne. Okay.
Wayne did part of it, and then my dad and I finished it. I bought the deck furniture, which really set it off. That deck is actually partially in the neighbor's yard.
Oh.
Because the old lady built the fence, and she decided to put it further into her property line. So it was either no man's land or my deck.
Yeah.
So... Oh yeah, hopefully this city's not listening right now. Anyways, so the kitchen painting the cabinets, I got done with materials for $1,500.
Wow,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like $5,000 to $10,000 today. But again, like I told him, I'm going to refer you to a business, which I did. What else did we do?
I gotta try that trick. I could do that trick.
LVP flooring on the main level, my dad and I did. So that was, but on material, that was probably like $4,000. We spent $10,000 painting everything and doing super cheap carpet.
Okay, so we're up to 15,000.
Yep. Deck was a few grand.
17.
Spent another probably $4,000 on landscaping, spraying the fence,
21
yard. What else did we do? And then the bathroom remodels weren't too bad, but I don't know. Call it another 5 to 10. So I mean, honestly,
30.
probably all in. Even if I'm sure I'm forgetting some stuff. New washer dryer.
So maybe 35 all in.
A 35, 40. Even round that up to 45, and you can see the math. We bought it for $278 and sold it for $430. So
when you bought a stale listing with awful marketing, so that's doing some of the lifting for you already, right?
Yep.
I want to see. Well, do you remember what time of year you bought it as well?
November.
December. So there's another one, right? If you buy a stale listing with bad marketing in the winter, and then just wait for a spring market and then paint and do flooring, that probably could have gotten you 100, just those things alone.
Yep.
So you bought it for $274 and you sold for $429. How many years later? 6.
5 or 6. Yeah.
Nice.
And for those who don't know this, because he lived in it long enough, that money was tax-free.
Yeah. Which was super cool because we'd paid down some debt on the loan, of course. Not a ton. 5-6 years of debt pay down isn't massive. But all of that built-in equity and appreciation that some of it forced through, improving it, but also some of it just riding the wave of appreciation, was a hefty portion of our down payment on the next house, and really cool that it wasn't taxable.
Yep.
So that was just literally money in the bank. So pretty cool. Let's
talk about some more of you have like investment seasons in your life. You've done a couple different things. You went from long-term into sober houses, right? I know that's an interesting thing, and I'd actually like to talk about what you know about that, because that market has changed so much. So
yeah,
I know you were more on the landlord side as opposed to the operator, but can we go over some of that?
Yeah. Well, so a while back, probably 9 years ago, give or take, I was at an event, and I was talking to another investor guy. And he was talking about sober homes and how there's tons of demand, and these people need a place to live, and so it's people that are going through recovery, from alcohol and other substances and things. And so personally, I have a soft spot in my heart for that situation. People that have gone through these things but are on the right side of it, trying to kind of right the track of their life. The challenge is they've got terrible credit. They oftentimes have some criminal activity, various levels, and so they're kind of like the opposite of a great renter, typically on paper, right?
Yeah.
And so in terms of an application, most of them don't have a chance of getting any place, even if they have a job and they've got their life, is on the right track now. And so I reached out to some local managers, and I found an existing manager, because I wanted to explore doing this, but not actually manage the intake and out and all that, because it can be a bit fluid. And so I called this wonderful couple who we ended up having a 8-year relationship until about a year ago. That was awesome. And it was really funny. When I called them, I said, "Hey, I'm looking to potentially convert my duplex into a sober home. And as a matter of fact, I got a little ahead of myself. It's actually furnished. It's ready to go. It's got beds in it. It's totally ready, but there's nobody in it. So, can you, would you want to work together? Would you have people to put in this? Would you want to do some sort of a master lease, you sublet, et cetera?" And he was like, "Who is this?" And he was like, "And how did you find my number?" And so he was really standoffish, right? And so I later find out that they had been praying about this and what they wanted to do, and they had 8 of these sober homes already, and they were really thinking about it, but they weren't sure how to do it. And they had one of those business income, didn't qualify to buy a home at the moment, for whatever reason. And so they couldn't themselves purchase a home. And so they were like literally wanting to expand, but couldn't buy the houses. And then like literally 2 days later, I call, hey, I got these empty houses. So pretty wild. So it was a husband-wife duo, and I got to know them a bit. My wife and I got to know them, and we kind of made a plan, and it was amazing. So, you know, basically all I had to do was fix stuff that broke. With zero vacancy, they always paid on time, and then they basically managed all of it.
You leased to them, and you got a premium for that, right?
A slight premium, but I got most of the benefit in the fact that they were always watching the property, and I never had to find a tenant, and I never had vacancy. So if you think about that over an 8-year period, like literally 0 down months.
How many of these sober homes did you have? Just the one?
At the peak, we had 3.
Okay.
So, 4. So we had anywhere between like 35 and 40 plus people.
Because they might be charging double market rent for a room-ish, like in the thousands?
I mean, I will say over the 8 years, it obviously changed. It went up.
Yeah.
I would say depending on the property, bedrooms, layout, we had anywhere from 10 to 13 single beds.
Because you could put more than one in a room.
Yes. Yep. And some rooms you got 2, and even like in like attic spaces, we might have 3 or 4, which was tricky because that's a lot of people trying to sleep with somebody snoring or whatever. Just basic, you know, whatever. Yeah. So we tried to have it to like 2-bedroom, but it worked well. Yeah, and I would say maybe in the early days they were renting them for $300 a bed, $300 to $400, and then the later years maybe closer to $600, you know, because it definitely went up. But so they had margin in there, you know, maybe it was a little higher than that. Maybe it was like $500 in the beginning, but they also had periods where they might only have 5 people living there. And so my lease with them was kind of stable, which was great for me. So,
yeah. What's unique about, as an owner of a sober home, you had to furnish it, correct? Is that normal? Or I seem to remember you furnished it. I'm going off of memory here.
Yeah. Well, you initially, they come with like nothing. You know, they don't have any furniture.
Someone has to furnish it.
Yeah, someone has to furnish it. So
it might be the operator, not always the owner, right?
Well, the irony is they find furniture and bring furniture in, which sometimes causes problems.
Yeah.
So you got to have the single beds in there. Those got to be set up, and you got to have decent mattresses. It's for quality of life. So I connected with a client who actually had a wholesale mattress company that worked with him. He was like in furniture sales and stuff. So he sent a literal semi truck, and he dropped off like 32 like single bed mattresses and box springs and metal bed frames. And I was like, it was crazy. So he had a semi truck, but we didn't have a loading dock. He's like, well, usually we just hook up to the loading dock. So that was pretty wild. But it worked out, you know, and we got a great deal on that stuff. And then I went around with a trailer with my dad for like 2 or 3 days and just emptied every single Goodwill and Salvation Army. So if you were looking for furniture that weekend, I'm sorry, because we bought every couch that they had. Yeah. So we did all that stuff used.
And you did all that before you called the people.
Yes, okay. Which I don't recommend if you're going to get into this. Which I had met with a guy who had talked a huge game and then turned out to just be, I don't know, a chronic liar or totally full of beans.
Wow.
So left me high and dry. So
call him out, Ryan. Who is this guy?
I don't even remember his last name. I remember his first name was Tyler.
I love full of beans. Yeah. That's hilarious.
That's what my mom used to say. I don't know, for any children listening, you know, I just wanted to be
full of beans
because of those kids looking at investing.
You've got a lot of 8-year-olds.
I watched this reel last night on YouTube. Just a side tangent here. That, you know, those stupid prank videos. You ever see those on like Instagram or whatever? These guys filled up a desktop CPU full of beans all the way up to the top. and then called like a computer repair guy. He like waited for the computer to die, it starts smoking. And then the guy played dumb. Like he opened it up, he's like, "What is this? This shouldn't be here. This is food." And then the guy's like, "What part? Like what's who sold this to you?" So funny.
So did it roast the coffee then? Did they make coffee with it?
It was like, no, dude, we're talking like wet, like I don't know, refried beans.
Not coffee
beans. Those not coffee beans.
No, not coffee beans. Like
I don't know why I thought coffee beans too. Yeah.
A can of like wet ass beans.
Oh, that's funny.
Wet ass beans.
Really funny.
Wow.
So you did this and it was pretty successful.
this
You
one
started
worked.
buying houses. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I cut you off. So this one worked, and then you're like, "I want more of these."
Yeah. So basically converted the duplex, which I was super nervous about because I had great tenants in there. They had been in there for a couple of years. They were doing fall cleanup, which they said they liked fall cleanup. Have you guys ever met a tenant that was like, "Yeah, I love fall cleanup"?
I have tenants who love just doing yard work. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, they were the first one of those and the last one of those that I've ever met. So I was like, "Oh man," and they loved the place. And so, anyways, made the jump. Yeah, but then the partnership turned out to be like a lot of talk. And so I got 2 houses ready. I bought a single family and furnished it, and so kind of went all in on this, which. In hindsight, again, like maybe take take one step forward instead of 6. It might be my biggest lesson that I've learned over the last 13 years investing in real estate. But it turned out great. We were vacant for a few months as the whole partner shifting thing happened. But when I made the new setup and built that new relationship, they were able to quickly sign a lease, get people in there, and it was awesome. So, and then it went for 8 years or so until a year ago, until everything kind of
things changed. How much do you know about that? Like, I mean, I only know vague things, and I'm not sure like the percentage of truth that I know. It's my understanding that whoever the organization that doled out like who gets to stay at your house, right? Like who places them, the placement agency, basically got caught with massive fraud, and they shut that company down, but they didn't have a backup.
That's the story, yeah. So the sober, recovery world has gone back and forth, according to my previous managers, that every 10 years it goes back and forth from private to state, because it's a very, very difficult thing to manage. And in reality, this one was avoidable, and it just was greed.
What was the name of the company?
New Way. NUWAY. You can just put New Way, FBI fraud, whatever, and it'll be 27 different.
They were like rounding up on
they agreed to pay
billable hours, right?
1.8 whatever billion, 18 million. Okay, yeah. So they were overbilling for their activities. They're a treatment center for people, basically like getting detoxed and then going through the initial treatment to get sober. And then from there, they need a place to go. So if you go to, a facility for 30 days or 60 days to get sober, to detox and do all that, then what, right? And that's where we came in, as we were a place for them to land with other sober people on the journey, which there's some risk in, but at least you're on the journey together. Mm-hmm. And so it created an environment where there wasn't going to be any drugs in the house. There wasn't going to be any alcohol in the house. If anyone broke any rules, you're out. One strike, you're out.
And you have like a house parent, right?
Yeah.
House mother.
We had a house manager. We call them a house manager, but I like the house parent. So basically, someone that had been sober for usually multiple years and was a little bit more, along that path. And so they would help keep an eye on things, and also just support the people living at the house. But yeah, so this was really, really sad because there was 120 privately owned sober homes across the Twin Cities, St. Paul and Minneapolis primarily. And I believe a majority of them have now either sold and or converted away from sober home to regular rental or whatever, something else.
Wait, so what I don't understand is, because New Way was one organization that did this, right? There's also like Hazelton is a well-known one.
Yeah, but that's super
But they
duper
didn't
high end.
place people, right? The thing about New Way is they would basically contact Ryan's operator and say, we've got someone for you, someone who wants to live in XYZ neighborhood, right?
Yeah,
someone who needs to be in Harrison because they work downtown Minneapolis or whatever, right?
What I'm trying to understand is like this isn't like the official, like if you're going to a sober house, you have to go through New Way. New Way was just happened to be the primary source of people. Correct?
They just happened to have control over 70 to 80% of all people.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they own the market.
They
that's
literally
the part I don't
own the
understand. These
market.
are details I don't know, and that's where I get fuzzy. But
Yeah, and
I was told they were the source, basically.
Yeah.
And that's probably a slight exaggeration, but like,
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying
obviously it was a huge.
It's not the official source. They just happened to get so big. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Got it.
there was no one who could take their place either, is what I understand, right? Like they were big enough that like you just couldn't fill the crack. Like you said, it's complicated enough, and you have to be able to get these people through to a place like Ryan's, and that infrastructure didn't exist when they went under. It just created this hole, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, they owed so much, and the whole lawsuit created such a mess that they basically had to shut down 70% of their. I mean, they're not gone, to my understanding, but basically, I started talking to other people who were in that world, and all of them were getting these calls, like, and anyone that was direct in it. So some of these people, like my managers, they also owned their own that, like, so there was no guy middle, like was kind of a middleman or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And so they were like not getting placements. So like when I took these back over, it was at 4 guys out of 13 beds. Like they were losing money big time. So what happens in the summertime is that the occupancy goes down, and then in the wintertime, people need a place to live even more so. So it goes up for whatever reason. But it just didn't go up, a year and a half ago at the end of 2024. And so basically, nobody knew what was happening behind the scenes. But then, we started to hear and then that they were indicted or being investigated, and then it all came out. Yeah. So anyways, which is really just a bummer of a story for the people that need this. You know?
That's what
I mean, like
say.
I'm going to be okay. Like it was super frustrating where like, they dropped me in the middle of winter and I have no plan. Now I have a duplex that's unrented on February. Like,
Yeah.
cool.
And you have 3 others at this point, or did you scale back?
I had another one down the road in North that was a huge single family house, and then I had one in Crystal. And so a few years back, I sold the one in the single family in North. That was when COVID hit. They struggled with that one for whatever reason. So that one, we just ended up selling that one. Tim did the loan on that one randomly, I think. That was pretty wild.
My client Brandon bought the property from Ryan, so all of a sudden, like he got a pre-approval letter from me, and of course, I didn't know. My client was offering,
but that wasn't like we didn't have any idea.
No,
he was just a buyer out looking for properties and happened to use Tim. It was just hilarious.
Funny.
So, yeah, I was like, well, I don't know about this lender here. I was like, have you talked to this guy? So that was kind of funny. So at the time, a year ago, I had 2. I had the duplex, the first property that we showed you guys, and then one in Crystal that was also just great. I hardly ever did anything. I fixed a few things, whatever, but like they were just great. And it was a bummer. So, and I don't know where all these people went to live. So like it's a bigger conversation.
Yeah.
I know.
Unless they were putting people in that didn't actually need, because I'm just skimming this stuff, but there are some allegations that they were putting people in outpatient treatment who arguably didn't really need outpatient treatment. So maybe there were people being put into sober homes that didn't actually need to be in sober. But yeah, that's kind of hard to believe.
It is.
Not in my experience.
I have a buddy who,
they all need to be there.
I would say I do have a dear friend of mine, like grew up with him and everything, who went through Hazelton, and I know that he had to go into outpatient afterwards, and I just can't imagine, because like it's such a shift, they can't go back home right away. There's too many temptations. It's not like their family wouldn't even allow them. Of course they would, but you can't go in that environment right away, right? You're too fragile at that point. And so you need this support of there's no drug and alcohol. There's none of the fighting with your spouse. There's none of the triggers that would happen.
Yeah. There is
home,
the
right?
Tim drank my milk though out of the fridge, right?
Of course I did.
So it's like a roommate thing. Like it's like, it's more like siblings fighting over whose food was in the fridge or coworkers,
sure.
So that was funny.
Who's snoring in the attic?
Yeah, exactly. Who's snoring in the attic? Yeah.
Okay.
So you said seasons of investing.
Yeah,
sober
you did
houses
sober
one.
houses. Let's talk about another season. And I think it's impactful for people, and it actually brings up some things that happened in Minnesota. You really did a cool project that I really liked.
Sure.
It's no longer a great strategy, but for a short period of time, it was awesome, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So basically, there's a couple different ways to buy real estate, as you guys know. And so the traditional route is either cash or a mortgage, right? And so, but there's lots of reasons why people can't qualify, right? I think, was Jordan Moorhead talking about, 550 credit score, didn't really have any credit, right? He wasn't like terribly, bad at things causing bad credit. He just didn't have a record of it. So there's lots of people in the world that either are self-employed, don't have great income, not provable, doesn't count for the banking world. They're like,
for
well, you made
Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, and whatever.
Exactly.
And it just doesn't add up for them.
Yeah. Or even people that make a ton of money and have a bunch of write-offs. And so and good lenders can often get around that, but there's some limitations too. So there are people in the margins that either had a single event, a health issue where they loaded their credit cards up to pay for their daughter's surgery, which every parent on the planet would do.
Yeah.
But had a plan, had a lawsuit coming but pending, right? Or things like that. So there's all sorts of scenarios that I had run into over the years. And people couldn't buy a home, or they had a home. Sometimes they literally were needed to sell, but then they wouldn't be able to buy again because they missed 2 mortgage payments or something like that, right?
Yep.
And so, interesting kind of people in the margins, and a lot of self-employed people with very, very minimal credit. And so what we did was we helped them buy homes through contract for deed and lease option. Which is just rent to own, basically, if you want the kind of the layman's terms for it. And we lined up an investor so that these people could actually go out and buy a house on their own, as if they were choosing it, instead of the reverse, which is right now, if you search the whole market and you scoured the internet for 10 hours, you could find 2 rent to owns.
Sure.
And that's it. And this was a way.
And those are usually like they were opportunity buys, so they're random.
Right.
They don't necessarily fit your family. They don't necessarily in the same right school district, right?
Exactly.
And you mean like a seller who's openly offering contract for deed?
Correct.
Got it. On the market.
Yeah. So like at any given time, there's maybe 2 to 5 of those ever available in the whole metro. And to Tim's point, they're probably not going to fit what you need or what you want.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got kids and you want to be a certain school district, what are the odds that a house that's your size that you can afford is also in your school district and is contract for deed?
Yep.
Yeah.
And some of these people were business owners that have owned a home for 20 years that went through a rough patch, that don't see themselves as renters and had a bunch of equity, but then couldn't qualify for a loan. So, it wasn't necessarily a liquidity thing as much as it was, well, the equity they have is buried in the house. So they got to sell the house, but then they're like, well, we don't want to rent because we're not really renters. We just need to work through this stuff. So that was interesting. So it was fun. They were challenging deals. They were very complex.
Super challenging, right?
A lot of layers and a lot of moving parts. I mean, I talk about crunching numbers and stuff. I mean, those are some of the most challenging to figure out. It wasn't just number crunching. It was, does this payment work for you? And, can I find an investor that will
take that return,
take the risk, right?
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
And be okay with the return. So it's just like, finding a happy medium,
Ryan would market to me and say, well, first he would market to you. He'd find you Adam. And then once he found Adam and they talked through he would explain to you the whole system. And then once you were kind of ready to go, they would kind of place it out to their network of real estate investors and say, we've got this guy, Adam, he wants to buy at whatever, 500,000. He's got 15% to put down, and the spread on the payment's going to be X, right? Let's say 500 a month, right? Yeah. And when you the buyout, like, so for example, he's going to buy at 500, but you're going to resell it to him at, let's say, 535. I'm making up all these numbers, of course. And so at the end, me as the investor, if I bought your deal, I would get 35,000 at the end, right? The difference between the 5 and the 535. I would get the 500 per month and whatever the difference in loan pay down was. So you would get credit per month of probably, let's say, $300 a month. But because our loan amounts were different, believe it or not, there's a small spread in there. And that could be another $100 a month or whatever. And so over 3 years, that was worth $3,600 plus the, whatever, $6,000 a year, for 3 years plus 35,000. And that was the return. And maybe I had to put 5% into this particular deal I'm talking about. That's actually a really stellar percentage return. Cash on cash was amazing on these deals.
Yeah.
A lot of you invested into one of these?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of them were 50% cash on cash return or better, right? That's kind of, or 35 to 65.
They ranged, right? Yeah, for sure. But I mean, the percentage, it required less down from the investor, which was a huge benefit, which increases the percentage return, right? So if you're putting 25% down by yourself, but basically it was kind of a shared situation, where the way that we were able to structure them, and some were lease options, some were contract for deed. Everyone had a different kind of flavor they were going for. The other thing that it solved too was people like in a divorce that's not finalized, so they could buy a home and on a lease option, which means on paper they're renting, right? Mm-hmm. But we could do a 3-year deal, which should be long enough to solve any divorce, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Or a 5-year, whatever. And that's, part of their choices up front. So someone who needs to get out of their house has a situation, right? Sometimes not a good situation, but maybe has money stashed somewhere or family that can help. And so then we can get them into, a home that makes sense, but not have issues with the legality of, okay, well, if I buy something now my not yet ex-spouse is going to own, part of this, right? Because in Minnesota, it takes 2 to sell, right?
And this is an important part to the story. Ryan did it ethically. There are some operators around town that at least had, I don't even know if they didn't do it, they got in trouble. And I'm not 100% sure they didn't do it ethically. The problem with these deals is some fall through.
Yeah.
And when they fall through, people complain because they put a lot down. You put 15% down on a $500,000 property and you don't end up with it. Even if it's your fault, you complain.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people who also, another reason why people do this is Shira law, right? You can set it up so there's no interest, okay? So a lot of Muslims will use this type of
I've heard about
structure.
This.
And there's a guy around town. It's probably not worth mentioning his name, although you can Google it, so it's not that big of a deal. But he did a ton of them, absolute ton of them. And he did a lot of them to Muslims. And when the Muslims went bad, they went to Keith Ellison, and was he indicted, sued? I don't know. There's some sort of a...
Yeah, I don't know what came of it.
I don't know either. I read through the lawsuit, and I'm like, but they didn't make their payment for a year. I'm like, I'm looking at this, I'm going, what did he do wrong? I actually don't know if he did anything wrong. I couldn't tell, but I read through the complaint and I'm like, it seemed to me like these people were complaining about something that, like, honestly, they should have lost their house from what I could tell.
Yeah.
But it is hard to know for sure.
I mean, at the end of the day, I think you just have to have everybody's best interests in mind and do, we did a full, what do you call it when they apply for a loan?
Loan application?
Disclosure.
So we had a licensed loan officer actually do like an application for them. And so that created a file. So like we needed to see a path for them to get financing.
Right.
And if there were a majority of the people we never worked with, like the majority of the people that we started a conversation with, didn't end up panning out, which is why as I mentioned, like the business owners, the divorce, like the situations where you could see a very reasonable path to
them buying out the property.
They're going to be able to get a loan, or in the divorce case, it's just they can get a loan today. They just don't it would be a mess, right? It'd be stupid. So it was strategic. And so, I think that was kind of a helpful piece. But there was complex deals, took a lot of brain power, a lot of energy, and so I don't do as many anymore. And now interest rates are coming down too, because part of what it solved was some of the numbers, or the interest rates were tough.
So we a couple of things. So I did do a deal in Blaine, and it was one of those things where the person had a divorce. Her first name was Heather, and she was great. We were able to get her in. She did a large down payment, so for me it was great because I brought in very little money, very little, and I got I want to say close to $600 a month, because I think it was $598 a month. It was a lot, I know that, and I had zero responsibility for the house in terms of maintenance or anything else. And she did it as a live-in flip. So she bought it from us. She put a bunch of money into it. She had a lot to put down, and she put a lot into it. She remodeled it. We had a plan, because if she didn't finish that remodel, I was in trouble. So I was concerned to make sure that she did. But she did a wonderful job, had everything done, and she sold it 2.5 years later for at least a $50,000 profit over what she had to pay me, because I got a premium, and paying off her realtors and everything. I think she made less than 60, but more than 50, something like that.
And just one of your clients?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. In 2.5 years.
Yep. We had Matt Bergstrom was on the podcast forever ago, and he did 5 of these.
Yeah.
And 2 of them went pretty bad for him as an investor. We had to sell one. Do you know what your percentage default rate was, or have most of these already closed out?
A lot of them probably about halfway through them, huh? I would guess.
I don't know. I mean, it ends up being kind of I'm not involved anymore at the point of after the transaction.
Sure.
Because then eventually when it goes well, you're just paying off a contract for deed. Right. There's not even there's a real estate transaction, but there's no need for an agent and that kind of thing. It can be just done at the title company, because it's all predetermined terms.
Sure.
And so the majority, I think, have worked out. It hasn't been long enough for some of the deals I've done to actually even come to fruition. Mm-hmm. I think our success ratio for most was far higher than a lot of people out there. Mm-hmm. And that's just partly because we've done more on the front end.
Yeah.
So we turned a lot of people down, which is really a hard thing to do. You have to do it, but they really want to, but you're this isn't going to be good for you. I'm protecting you from yourself, Right. And sometimes, that's what you got to do. But
I still have 3 of them, although I had 4, and I'll be down to 2 within the next couple months, because they're slowly buying me out.
Yeah.
Which is that's the whole idea of it. Yeah, I would say so. Although the guy that's trying to buy me out, I kind of need him to buy me out. There's other things. He was supposed to give me a down payment, and he never did, and I could only float it for so long. So I would say that didn't go ideal, but it's going to end up fine, and I'm going to make, I'll make my money and stuff like that, right? So it'll work out.
Yeah.
But otherwise, he would just as soon not have me buy him out, Or I'm sorry, he would just as soon not buy me out right now. And he's made all of his payments on time, so that's not a problem. But the down payment's $120,000, so it mattered. We're not talking a small number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, so the last couple of things I wanted to say about this strategy, I really liked it as a strategy because it set your floor. You always had cash flow. There was guaranteed. You couldn't do this deal without it cash flowing. You had really low maintenance, but you had a ceiling on your appreciation. But remember, you weren't bringing the whole down payment, so it wasn't. I don't think that was a big negative. And they were really wonderful deals. It was so cool to help these people. Everyone that I did one with, I helped that person a lot, right? Mm-hmm. And actually, well, we've talked about Miguel lots of times. I did this with Miguel.
Oh, yeah.
He is so much wealthier today than he would have been because he basically bought a property. He used hard money to fix it up, but then he couldn't refinance out of it. He just didn't qualify. Mm-hmm. So basically, I bought the house from him for, the market value. I gave him all the cash, and then he gave me the down payment amount back. So basically, he put a down payment on his own house or kept the equity in the house, right? Is how it worked out. I make almost nothing on his. Honestly, I gave him too good of a deal because we were doing work
Amigos.
together. Yeah, I mean, I think I make like 200 a month, and my buyout fee is not that big or anything. So, but anyway, I created immense wealth in his family because of it, and it worked out good for me, and I trust him that I was going to get paid.
Well,
if I
he
don't
has
actually,
a couple of
Is he
those.
doing-
I think.
yeah, and
Is he doing work for you still?
a little bit, not as much as I used to.
I mean,
but
but sometimes, like, home ownership for your, if you're a small business owner and you can help people have home ownership, I mean, this is definitely more creative, a bit trickier. But just that, it gets roots into the community, right? I mean, there's so many positive impacts that have nothing to do with the monetary, it's not about making money and stuff. It's like, do you feel like you're part of the community? Did you actually get to know your neighbors? When you're renting, how many neighbors do you know? None,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe one or two, right? But like that was just dumb luck. When you own a home, like the neighbors come over, they take an interest in you because you're not going to be gone in a year.
Yeah.
Well, usually not, right?
Right.
So I think it's just interesting too. It's been fun over the years of just in general, not just the creative deal financing stuff, but just the pride of home ownership and stuff. It's something it's hard to describe,
Yeah.
So
I agree. Hey guys, I have a thing to get to.
Yeah,
we got to have you back, I guess, because I don't think we heard a lot of the stuff you've done.
Yeah. Ryan's done a ton. We've done some deals together. We partner on things.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. Maybe
Cool.
Maybe I can come back.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you're the man, dude. Thanks
Cheers.
for doing it.
All right. See ya.
So, what's going on today, Tim? And I was actually going to ask you, what did change with contract for deed law in Minnesota? Do you know specifically? Or you know the gist of it.
I know
right?
the gist. I would say I know the gist of it because I might get the numbers wrong. But yes, there is now if you're terminating a contract for deed, so you are the property owner and you want to end the contract for deed because your person didn't pay, you have to give them a notice, kind of similar to the pre-eviction notices.
Sure.
And I think that might be 60 or 75 days.
90.
No, 90 days. 90 days. Yep. Actually, I remember that. It's 90 days. And then after the 90 days, you can start the process. And then you have to go through a formal process of ending the contract for deed. For me, it took about a half a year to end a contract for deed.
Some other things, and this is ChatGPT, and they might be getting things wrong. A 10-day right to cancel after disclosures. Okay, so they just same as like the CIC rule.
Yeah.
If a tenant dies within the first 4 years, if a deal dies, if a deal dies within the first 4 years, buyer may recover part of the down payment. Cool. Could the deal die and being you're not paying your contract?
Yeah, I think that's really the only way they die, because I don't have the right to take a property back if the person pays. It's theirs, right? It's kind of like, like you can't just arbitrarily say, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Actually, when you sign all the paperwork, if they live up to the contract, it's their property.
Buyers who cancel their contract within 4 years of buying their home can recover a portion of their down payment. If a seller cancels a contract, the buyer must get refunded any portion of their down payment that is more than 10% of the purchase price. Okay. Because, I mean, this kind of seems like BS to me, right? Because, like, as a seller, I'm not going to sell something for a contract for deed if you can just stop paying in year 3.
Yeah,
and then I have to give you your down payment back.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely
essentially
not.
what they were trying to do. They were trying to make them. So now, instead of contract for deed, it's all lease to own type situation, which I think that might even be more risky. The problem is they threw the baby out with the bathwater, right? And, I think that's pretty common in government. Like they don't really get the nuance, and
it's a buyer protection law. So they're trying to figure okay, Ryan talked about how he denied most of the people, right? And even though if they have a down payment and they, just like banks, you could argue, did back in the day, right? They're approving people that probably weren't going to be able to pay once those variable rates went up.
Sure. Yeah.
But they were fine. The bank made their money. So similar deal here, right? Ryan could have approved more people, and as long as you got the down payment, we're
they
groovy.
declined so many people. I mean, just like he said, the overwhelming majority of people who came to them they said, yeah, this is not the right program for you. And that's the way you're supposed to do it. So,
Yeah.
So those changes happened. It's a lot hard. So people have switched, right? And I've got a guy who does these all across the country. I close like at least, close to one a month for him right now. And he's doing them as lease options. He's not doing any contract for deeds anymore. It does depend on the state laws. I shouldn't say that because I think he might have done one in Florida recently, but whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. So I guess I got one other thing. I think this is kind of important. I think people always want to know about interest rates. And so by the time you hear this, the exact rate might be totally different. But like some of the things that are happening right now that are worth knowing is interest rates started to really tick up over the last couple of weeks since the war in Iraq or the bombing in Iran or whatever happened. And
if you're on the left, you call it a war. If you're on the right, you call it a bombing. Go on.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you call it, it's since that rates have crept up quite a bit. But we all freak out about that. And we think, oh my gosh, they're so high. They're actually almost a full half point lower than they were a year ago at this time. They're 0.4% lower as of this recording today than they were a year ago. And that's after a pretty, let's call it somewhat, or at least somewhat extreme increase compared to what we were used to or compared to the floor. But the floor was exactly 2 days. So these are things that I think are important to keep in perspective. Because if you look at the lowest they've been in the last year, they were quite a bit lower than now. But if you go back 2 days, they're a little bit higher, quarter point, something like that.
Yeah. So if rates go, what Tim is saying is if rates move from 5.5 to 6, oh my gosh, these rates are so high. But if they go from 6.5 to 6, it's like, yes, lock in,
Yeah.
But that's human nature for
so,
you.
I think it's just really good context to understand that rates are, number one, they're not high. They're lower than they have been and people are buying. And the other thing I would say is if you look at the prediction markets, they are not predicting them to be significantly lower at the end of the year than they are right now. I do believe because there are some things that they might end up slightly lower, but not enough to matter, not enough to change your deal. So don't let interest rate slow you down. There actually is some concern that inflation is ticking back up. They measure like what a consumer pays and they measure what a business pays. And right now, business inflation is increasing, but it's not getting passed along to the consumer. Meaning they're not mirroring each other. So right now, businesses are taking on the inflation hit at about a half a point or a half a percentage point of the inflation is not getting carried over to the consumer. And that might not sound like a big deal, but it kind of matters because it would be a half a point across your whole life. Everything you spend on would be a 0.5% higher, if you will, if they were passing this along. So
anything that the government says about inflation, I don't believe it.
There you go.
Period.
Well, I don't believe how they track the data.
You did that, whatever. We talked about it 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
About the ways that they measure stuff. It's the dumbest thing ever.
It's ridiculous. If you really dig into it, it is ridiculous. But anyway, so don't wait on rates. Don't wait on them to come down, and don't think that they're really all that high. Because if they go up a half a point, they're where they were a year ago. So
cool. I've got something to report. We went under contract on a commercial deal. Myself, friend of the show, Tyler Nash, friend of me, Tim Devane.
Yeah, maybe we should have Tim on sometime, huh?
We should. That would be fun to have Tim on. This building, have I showed this to you, Tim?
I've seen it because Tyler sent it to me, yeah.
Okay.
Plus, I used to work near there. Where is it again? Is it on Selby?
This is on Selby and St. Paul.
Yeah, I used to work a couple of blocks from there. Office.
So anyone who knows St. Paul, the pizza Luthi is right here.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a little bit further away. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So this building is, we're not actually sure how big it is. It might be, I think it's probably like 5,000 square feet.
Okay.
I don't think the taxes say it's 8,000, and I don't think it's that big. But it's a big lot. This was a Piggly Wiggly grocery store in the 1920s, and actually, Tyler found like an article from way back in the day. There's like these like Facebook pages that are like historic St. Paul,
Yeah, I've seen
and it was an article about like a robbery. A guy went in and stole $80 and like ran out, ended up in a shootout. Yeah, pretty cool. And it's been a lot of different things. It was there was a construction company for a long time. Anyways, now it's a therapy business. And
looks like it's been remodeled nicely. I mean, from the picture anyway, it looks like it's got nice newer windows, and you still got the brick. Looks like it's in good shape.
Yeah, I want to see if I can. Here we go. So, at least half of this building is going to be our new real estate office. So it's currently this big therapy center. So that'll be like closings in this room, right? There'll be an like a conference table there. Mm-hmm. We might open up a bit. It's a little closed.
Because they needed a lot of offices.
They needed a lot of offices, including those 2 meeting rooms. There's like 9 rooms for offices. So what we probably want to do is rent half of this building out to someone else. So if you know anyone listening who might be looking for a place to rent, hit me up. This space would probably go for, I don't know, $4,000 a month, maybe $3,500, give or take.
The bigger space?
The bigger space. Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you're, it's my understanding that roughly there's a place that's roughly a third of the space that it's like its own separate unit, right? It's not. It's like.
Are you talking about this building?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like one's 2/3 and the other's a third. Is that correct? Or no?
That sounds.
Or is like it a different building?
No, that sounds like it could be correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard about a couple of different projects, so I was just not sure.
But you heard from Tyler, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's probably this one that he's talking about.
Like in that third is already being rented by someone.
But they're going to be out. Here's a train. There's a little kitchen area. It's going to be a perfect real estate sales office.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're with Real Broker or you're looking to join Real Broker, and you want a place in St. Paul, we're also going to sell drop-in memberships. So if you don't want a private office, but you want a place to meet clients, have closings, drop by, use a printer, do what you got to do. We'll have an affordable monthly option. And a lot of this is going to be completely, we've got a decent renovation budget. We want it to really be like an open modern office. And
will there be a space big enough to hold the meetup at this place or not really?
Definitely. And that's when I say we're going to open some, like this wall to the right, I don't think needs to be there.
Yeah. Okay. I see it.
Did you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah.
Like obviously, and we might, because there's only going to be 3 agents and our assistants working out of this place to start. So we might have to grow into it. Maybe we'll have the whole building at one point.
Yeah, is on-street parking.
Look at that! Look at that! Isn't it just a handsome building?
It is. It looks good.
I'm very excited.
How's it? What kind of heating system does it have?
Forced air.
Okay.
Yeah, which was replaced in the last few years. Question mark about the roof. Not exactly sure.
Flat roof. It looks
flat roof. Okay. Yep.
Well, and they can last a very long time. They just have to be well maintained. Is that a little parking lot in the back? Then
there is a little parking lot in the back. Okay. I really think it could be 3 units because it's got 3 doors. It could have a little office in the back, and then it could have like the big this part, right? And then this part is kind of its own thing. And
I think this definitely for layout this suits better than the place that was on Grand.
It does, yeah.
The Grand was cool just simply because of the neighborhood and the drive-by traffic.
The signage would have been better on Grand. Yeah, put duplexdaddy.com on Grand and we get all sorts of traffic. But ultimately, I don't want to disclose what we're buying it for yet, but we wrote an offer at which we were like, we want to walk into some equity here, because Grand was almost our favorite, but we're like, if we can buy this. This is why, as an investor, it's good to have options, man, because it allows you to be indifferent enough during a negotiation where you can get a pretty great price. Correct. And so I'll say, I think we have a really good price on this place, and we're trying to raise money for the down payment and a renovation. I'd like to know your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I have thoughts on it, actually.
Yeah, so
I think you should raise it for the down payment, but not the renovation. Because it's going to be more expensive to get a partner or to raise money than it will be to borrow money from a bank for the renovation.
Oh, okay.
Right? So
because post-closing, it would be easy to get a renovation loan, you think?
No, I mean, as part of the closing, purchase it with a renovation.
Oh, just get a construction loan for the place.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you'll have to put basically 25% down on the purchase and the rehab, right?
Yeah.
And the remainder you can borrow at, like, let's call it 6.5% to 7%, right?
Right.
It is a commercial building, so those are somewhere in that ballpark. And I mean, the majority of people that are going to lend you money are not going to go lower than 6.5 or 7, right?
And we're going to have to pay like 9 probably.
Yeah. So you're actually costing yourself money by trying to raise money, if that makes sense. Plus you have more people then, right? And it's really nice to have, let's say, 3 or 4 partners instead of a dozen. I mean, I know I made those numbers up, but 3 is better than 6.
So the only
in terms of number of partners.
The only downside. How involved is the only downside is that there's more hoops. There's more hoops to jump through because you're dealing with the lenders.
Absolutely,
so you have to justify this is what we want to do, blah blah blah, and then you have
to plan better. But
and then you have the down payment, like $25,000 more out of pocket. Or no, because
it's not. Okay. It's not. That's what I'm saying is if you look at it, it does change the timing because if you just close, you don't need that $25,000 before closing, right? But after closing,
but we're raising that money anyways. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm there. I'm with you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it saves you money, and it will save you money, and you'll raise a lot less, and you'll have less partners because you have to raise less, most likely, right?
Right.
Because, I mean, obviously, you could have someone write the whole check. I mean, that's possible, but in a world where they don't write the whole check, you have to find. I don't know. Is the budget $100,000? What is the budget like?
We made it 100 to be safe.
So if the budget's 100, you have to raise 75,000 more under your plan than under my plan.
Right.
It's just you get the luxury of doing it after closing, but you also can't do your remodel without that money, right? Whereas my plan, you could start day one. You could be swinging a hammer immediately after closing.
Right.
Right.
So, no, it's a good thing to think about. And we don't even know. I mean, honestly, we could end up spending $20,000 on some tuck pointing and some signage. But I figure let's just shoot for the moon and see what we can raise. My question was going to be for you. For some reason, it makes more sense in my mind to offer like preferred equity at just a given percentage point, right? Than to offer equity in the deal itself. The reason being, we are taking up. The point is for us to break even, right?
Sure.
We want a free place to work that is also an investment.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so if you bring a partner on for regular old equity, right? Here we need $100,000. You're going to own 20% of this or whatever.
Yeah.
They want to see some sort of return.
Their incentive is different than yours. Yeah.
Right.
So you have to find a way to make the incentives align. And so you're saying with preferred return, you're talking about like giving them an interest rate and some equity or what? Or just interest
just an interest rate.
Okay, yeah.
But is that good? Is that good enough?
Yeah. And you can actually raise debt on a podcast. You actually can't raise equity on a podcast. So good thing we talked
interesting. Okay, so if anyone
there's
wants
SEC rules about it.
Interesting. Okay, so
unless there's a caveat, because this is important. People do this all the time.
I don't know.
People make this mistake every day. You can raise debt whenever you want. Meaning, like if I want to ask Adam to borrow me money, or any one of you, would you lend me money at an interest rate? That is completely legal. But when you start asking for partners on a public forum, you can't do that until you filed with the SEC, and you have to choose. There's 2 different ways to file. One of them, and I get the numbers wrong. One of them's like whatever number B. And that one, you cannot publicly advertise. It has to be private through individuals you already know and have a relationship with. Or you can go with accredited investors only. And you have to say, basically, this is only for accredited investors. And then you can advertise and talk about it on podcasts and whatever you want and do that kind of thing.
So let me ask you this. What do? We want to raise debt That's perfect. Your answer is perfect because that's what we want. We don't want to give up upside, and we just want to keep it simple.
Yes, and I think debt is the way to do this because you're right. Otherwise, the incentives won't really align. I mean, you could technically have a small amount of equity if someone, like it's, I'm
everything's
saying, like,
negotiable.
If someone was structuring it, they could get a small amount of equity. But like, if you make the interest rate attractive enough, you're gonna be able to raise that kind of money. Yeah, no.
And we think we have to be at like 9%, probably. Disagree or agree? You think we're too low, too high?
Lately, it's funny. Even with interest rates coming down, I have a couple of these loans out there, and people have been asking for more lately, not less, even though rates have went down. And I think it's because the stock market's booming, and they're like, well, I could either put my money here or give it to you. So I've been seeing a lot of people at 10. Okay. I'm not saying you can't get 9, but there's a big appetite at 10. And I have some out there right now at 8. So it all changes, right? But my 8 is going to turn into 10 real soon.
And you know what?
Like real soon.
It's kind of like there's an emotional piece you got to think about. Like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. 10 just feels better than 9. It's does. 2 digits. I'm making a 10% return. Best case scenario on your index funds or whatever, it's 10% historically. And that's best case scenario without like fees to your whatever. So we might as well do 10. And you're the guy that we talked about this on the podcast about how you don't necessarily want to borrow it as cheap as you possibly can. You want your investors to be really thrilled with the return they're getting. Right?
If you're raising, let's say $100,000, you're paying out an extra $1,000 a year. It sounded to me like you're maybe raising a little more. So
$275, but it's the difference between $2,000 a month and $2,200 a month.
Right. Exactly. And so you kind of go, okay, it is more money. There's no question. But like, will these people come back to me because I made them happy and I didn't squeeze every dime out of them, right?
Yeah.
And my 8%, I actually did that person a favor in a way for her to pay me back because she gave me a really great rate. She's like, okay, I helped someone flip a house and I took no money for it. And she said, I'm going to lend you money at a cheaper rate, right? Like, no points, no nothing, just flat out 8%, which was a great deal for me at the time.
It's an awesome deal.
And it was a way for her to help me. We all felt good about it, and there you go.
Well, that's great. And I have more questions for you. I don't know if the people want to hear everything, but I'd like to know more. We can
talk about it. Well, I mean, some people shut it off if you're not interested.
Yeah. And I got to leave. Well, I got to leave in a few minutes, but maybe in the next outro, we'll talk about how do we need to, okay, so we're raising debt for this deal.
Yeah.
How do we structure it? I think we probably need an attorney.
I think it'd be wise. Mm-hmm. I've done all my deals without an attorney, but we're talking like one person to one person debt. It's not that complicated. I issue them a mortgage. I close everything at a title company. Mm-hmm. I do think everyone who signs on this, they're going to want a lien position, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where you want to probably talk to an attorney about how does the lien position work with, like, if you have 6 different people going in, do you create one entity for all 6 so they have the same lien position, or are they getting, because like, okay, let's say I'm giving,
I don't think we're gonna have 6 people.
Okay,
because I don't think raising like $100,000 increments will be that hard.
Yeah, so you might have 2 or 3. You might have 3. Let's say 3
is very likely.
3 is likely. Yeah. So you raise the money from 3 people. Let's say. Well, there is an actual order to who gets their money back first, and it goes in order of the lien. Right.
Bank's
so
number
your
one.
bank's number 1 with the bullet. Number 2, why do they deserve to be number 2 versus number 3? Because number 3 loses all their money if this deal goes bad. That's the way that works, right? Because that's the last position, so it's the first to lose money. Mm-hmm. So you probably have to do some sort of you're going to create, most likely, I think you're going to create some sort of an agreement that's basically a partnership or an LLC within the borrowing entity,
right?
And
they'll chop it.
It'll chop it up, and they'll, you know what I mean. And it'll be something like that, is my guess. Will be the way to solve that problem. It's certainly solvable, but it's just something that's got to be thought of, and that's probably best done with an attorney so you don't miss something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, I've been introduced to a few that I will be talking to next week. And ultimately, you know what? I've had this admin, Jared, who you've met, he's not here because his kids are on spring break. But it's a lonely business sometimes, isn't it, Tim? You'd think we're working with people, but really we are just most of our time is spent by ourselves in this business, which people would be very surprised to hear. And it gets lonely, and the hard times are harder because you're by yourself. So anyways.
And you can lose energy by just not being around people.
100%.
Right? You work from home, which is awesome, except like when things are slow in the winter and there's not a lot of transactions, all of a sudden you're just kind of like, it's a little doom and gloom, right? And I don't, like a little, right? Like, but it is, yeah.
Yeah. And so Jared being around, and I'm like, it's 4:00 and I'm doing like the kind of busy work that I hate doing, and I'm working till 6 on it. So it's really been an eye-opening. Ultimately, we just want to create like a culture in an office. If you guys don't know Tyler, you don't know Tim, they're just like the funniest guys. We're in a team group chat, and it's just us roasting each other all day. And it's like, it's the kind of like, I miss bartending in the sense that like you come in and all your friends are there on both sides of the bar. They're all your friends. And then you just hang out with your friends all night. So real estate can be like that.
It can, yeah.
And we're excited to create it on Selby Avenue. So
sweet,
cool. Well, thanks Ryan for being a great guest. And do we have anything to plug? This will go out in a week or so.
Well, InvestFest is still in the planning stages, and we've got a location, and we're looking at a date. I don't really want to. Until it gets a little more finalized, I don't want to give any details, but because there are plenty of things we're working out, it is very likely there's going to be a cost to it, but it'll be a relatively small cost. And we'll have a limit to it. It's not going to be unlimited. It will be capped at exactly 200 people.
Do people, have we talked about InvestFest? You know what?
A little bit.
I don't have time. I must go.
We'll talk about it later.
All right. Peace.
Bye.
That's it for today's show. You can visit the Twin Cities Real Estate Investing.com website for show notes, tips, tricks, and other local real estate investing information. Adam and Tim would like to meet with you. To schedule a one-on-one meeting with either Adam or Tim, go to TwinCitiesRealEstateInvesting.com/schedule.